I'd been on the road for 10 hours, hauling myself across state lines to make it to my family's big shindig. They'd been hyping up this reunion for weeks, like it was going to be some grand moment to bring us all together. My sister, Emily, sent me a text a few days before. Bring some pie for dessert. You good on gas? It was weird. She's not usually that chatty, but I brushed it off. I'd been planning to go anyway, had the weekend free, and even though work had me beat, I figured family's family, you know? So, I loaded up my old pickup, threw in a couple cherry pies from the bakery, and hit the highway. The drive was brutal, traffic jams, a busted radio, and I was chugging coffee just to stay awake. By the time I rolled into their driveway at dusk, I was wiped out. The house was all lit up, warm and inviting, but something felt wrong the second I stepped out. My brother, Nate, had his Jeep parked right in front of the garage, which he never does. I thought, maybe he's actually showing up for once. I walked in, hauling the pies, and nobody even looked up. Emily was in the kitchen, clanging pots like she was mad at them. My dad, Tom, was leaning against the counter, staring out the window like he was expecting a storm. Nate was sprawled on the couch, thumbing through his phone, barely giving me a nod. I set the pies down, and Dad just made this low grunt, like I'd interrupted something. Then he glanced at the clock and said, well, look who decided to grace us with his presence. I'd just driven 10 hours, and that's the welcome I get? No, how's the trip? Or good to see you. I just let it slide. Dad's been like this forever, always got a chip on his shoulder about me not following in his footsteps. He wanted me to take over his hardware store, live his life, but I went my own way, got a job in tech, and he's never let it go. Mom came out of the pantry, fussing about how I needed to wash up before dinner, like I'm still a kid. I just nodded, trying to keep the peace. Nate didn't move, just kept scrolling, probably posting some dumb meme. Dad started muttering about how some folks don't know how to put in a real day's work, just fiddle with computers. I knew that was aimed at me, but I didn't take the bait. I've heard it all before. Dinner was supposed to be this big deal for my cousin's new job, but the vibe was off from the start. Mom's cooking was solid, roast beef, mashed potatoes, the works, but nobody was talking. Every time I tried to chat with Nate, he'd just shrug and go back to his phone. Dad kept tossing out little jabs, saying stuff like, some people just coast through life, always leaning on others. I'm thinking, really? I paid for their internet last month, set up their whole online banking because Dad can't figure out a password to save his life. But I kept quiet. No point stirring the pot. Then, out of nowhere, Dad slams his glass down, hard enough to make the table shake. He locks eyes with me and lays into me. You're a leech, Mike. You've never done a single thing to make this family proud. All you do is take, and if you've got any shred of dignity, you'll get out of this house and stay gone. His voice was low, cold, like he'd been waiting to say it. I just stared at him, my fork frozen in my hand. Mom didn't look up, just kept cutting her food like nothing happened. Nate snorted, didn't even lift his eyes from his screen. I waited for someone to say something, anything, but it was dead quiet. My throat tightened, but I couldn't get a word out. So, I stood up, left my plate, and walked out. Didn't grab my coat, didn't look back. I heard Dad start eating again as the door closed behind me. Outside, the air was sharp, but I didn't care. I walked down the street, my boots crunching on gravel, trying to call a buddy, but nobody picked up. I ended up sitting on a bench by the park, scrolling through my phone, watching notifications pop up for some random post I'd made. I could have gone back, but what for? They just act like it never happened or tell me I'm overreacting. So, I headed to my truck, parked behind a dingy convenience store because their driveway was full. I climbed in, locked the doors, and just sat there, staring at the dashboard. I texted Mom, asking if she was okay. No reply. Texted Nate, nothing. I leaned back, listening to cars hum by, and tried to shut my brain off. Around 1 a.m, a cop knocked on my window, asked what I was doing. I said I was just resting, which wasn't a total lie. He told me to move on, so I drove to a Walmart lot and curled up in the backseat with my jacket as a blanket. Not exactly the family reunion I'd pictured. All I could think about was Dad's face, that smug look, like he was daring me to push back. He's always hated that I don't bow to him, that I don't need his approval. And you know what? I'm done trying to prove myself to him. Waking up in the back seat of my truck with a crick in my neck wasn't exactly how I pictured starting my day. The sun was barely up, and I was stiff, cold, and still trying to wrap my head around what went down at dinner. I just sat there for a bit, watching some guy sweep the Walmart parking lot like it was the most normal thing in the world. My phone was down to 3%, and I had a couple texts from friends, but nothing from Mom, Dad, or Nate. Figures. I kept replaying Dad's words in my head, that cold stare, telling me I'm a leech, to get out and stay gone. It stung, sure, but mostly I was just tired of the same old fight, tired of being the family punching bag. I drove to a diner down the road, got a coffee and some pancakes, and plugged my phone into a wall outlet. As I sat there, sipping the burnt coffee, I saw a text from Mom pop up. Hope you're okay. There's breakfast if you want to come back. Like nothing happened. Like Dad didn't just kick me out in front of everyone. I stared at it, read it twice, then locked my phone. What was I supposed to say? She's been pulling this for years, smoothing things over, pretending everything's fine so she doesn't have to deal with Dad's temper. I wasn't falling for it this time. I started typing a reply, something like, "You saw what he said. I'm done." But I deleted it. No point. The diner was quiet, just me and an old guy at the counter watching a fishing show on the TV. It was kind of nice, like the world was still turning somewhere else. I opened my email to kill time and noticed a notification about a login attempt on Dad's store website. That's when it hit me. I'm the one who set up everything for them. Not just the Netflix or the Wi-Fi, but the real stuff. Dad's hardware store has an online shop, and I built it from scratch. I handle the domain, the payments, the email accounts, even the smart thermostat in their house. Nate's useless with tech, and Mom's no better. Dad acts like he's king of the castle, but he can't even reset his own password. I'm the one they call when something breaks, and I always fix it. Always. I started poking around, pulling up the accounts on my phone. Not because I was planning anything, just curious. I saw Dad had posted new inventory yesterday, some tools and lawn gear, and orders were coming in. He's out there acting like he's running the show, but I'm the one keeping the lights on. I thought about just signing out of everything, letting them figure it out, but then I remembered how Dad gets when his precious store hits a snag. He'll yell at Mom, blame Nate, maybe even call a customer an idiot. Last time the site went down, he chewed out the hosting company for an hour because he didn't know how to clear a cache. I was the one who fixed it, like always. So, I started making some changes. Nothing crazy, just taking back what's mine. I logged into the family's shared calendar and removed myself from all the notifications. No more reminders for me to pay their cable bill or fix Mom's email. Then I went to the streaming accounts and pulled my credit card off. I'm not paying for their binge watching anymore. The big one was Dad's store. I built that site, set up the payment gateway, even wrote the product descriptions. He just sends me photos and tells me to make it look good. He brags to his buddies about his online empire, but he doesn't even know how to log into the dashboard. I didn't shut it down, just changed the admin email to mine and reset the passwords. I left a note on the site. Under maintenance, back soon. Professional, not petty. I checked the store's email and saw a couple customers asking about their orders. I replied, technical issues, we'll update you. Kept it simple. My phone buzzed. It was Nate. You coming back for lunch or what? No mention of last night. No, sorry, Dad was a jerk. I texted back, not today. He just sent a shrug emoji. Typical. Then Mom called. I let it go to voicemail, but she called again, so I picked up. She sounded nervous. Your dad didn't mean what he said, Mike. He's just stressed. Can you check the Wi-Fi? It's acting up. I couldn't believe it. After everything, she's asking me to fix their internet? I said, I'm not coming back, Mom. And hung up. I kept going through the accounts, making sure I was out of their system. I even had access to the smart thermostat, so I removed myself from that too. Not locking them out, just stepping away. Dad can learn to use a manual one. By the time I finished my pancakes, I felt lighter, like I'd dropped a weight I didn't know I was carrying. I paid the bill, tipped the waitress, and headed back to my truck. I thought about driving home, but something told me to stick around a bit longer. Dad's gonna notice the site's down soon, and I know he'll lose it. He told me to get out, so I did. Now let's see how he handles things without me holding it all together. I'm not his tech guy anymore, not his scapegoat, not his anything. I'm done. I didn't sleep much that night, just tossed and turned in my truck, parked in that Walmart lot. By morning, my phone was blowing up, missed calls from Mom, a couple from Dad, and a text from Nate that just said, "What's up with the store?" No apology, no mention of Dad's blow-up at dinner. I ignored them all and drove to a gas station to fill up and grab a soda. I sat in the cab, sipping it, watching the world go by, and decided to let them sweat a bit. I wasn't ready to talk, not after Dad told me to get lost and stay gone. My head was still spinning from it, his voice echoing like a bad song stuck on repeat. I kept thinking about how Mom just sat there, how Nate acted like it was no big deal. It wasn't new, but it hurt different this time. I checked my email and saw a bunch of notifications, login attempts on Dad's store website, password reset requests, the works. He must have noticed the maintenance message I left and tried to get in. Good luck, buddy. I changed everything to my email, locked him out clean. I wasn't trying to burn the place down, just making sure he couldn't waltz in and act like I didn't matter. I scrolled through the store's inbox and saw customers already asking why their orders weren't shipping. I sent a quick reply. Technical difficulties, we'll get back to you. Kept it professional, no drama. But I knew Dad was probably losing his mind, yelling at anyone in earshot. He's like that when things don't go his way, blames everyone but himself. Around noon, my phone rang again. Mom, using her work number this time. I let it go to voicemail, but she texted right after. Your dad's upset about the store. Can you fix it? We just want things back to normal. Normal? What's that supposed to mean? Her pretending Dad's tantrums don't happen? I didn't reply. Then Nate slid into my messages, all casual. Dad's freaking out. Says you broke the website. Just give him the password, man. I shot back. He told me to leave. I left. He didn't respond, but I saw him post some cryptic nonsense online about family issues. Dude's out here acting like he's above it all, but he's just as bad, coasting while I fix everything. I spent the afternoon tightening up the accounts. I double-checked the store's payment system, made sure my card was off every subscription, and revoked access from Dad's old laptop. I didn't touch the money or delete anything, just paused the whole operation. The site was still up, just frozen, like a car with no gas. I even pulled myself out of the smart locks on their garage. Let Dad figure out how to open it without an app. I thought about how he always bragged about his store, telling folks he's some big-shot entrepreneur. Never mentioned I'm the one who built it, who kept it running, who fixed every glitch while he took the credit. He'd tell customers I was too busy to help, like I was some slacker, when I was the one answering their emails at midnight. By evening, Dad called again. I picked up, just to see how far he'd go. No hello, just, what did you do to my store, Mike? You're screwing us all over. Stop acting like a kid and fix it. I said, you told me to get out. I'm out. He huffed. You know I didn't mean it. Just give me the password. I hung up without another word. He called back twice, left a voicemail ranting about how I'm making it hard for everyone. I deleted it. Then Nate texted, Dad says he's cutting off your phone if you don't fix this. I laughed out loud. I've been on my own plan for years. Nice try, Nate. Later, I got a message from one of Dad's buddies, a guy who buys tools from the store. Heard you're causing trouble with Tom's website. What's the deal? I replied, I'm not part of it anymore. Talk to him. He just said, rough stuff, man. Yeah, no kidding. I drove to a park, sat on a bench, and watched kids play soccer, trying to clear my head. My phone kept buzzing Mom again, saying, your dad's sorry, he's just stressed. Can you help with the store? I didn't answer. I was done being their fix-it guy. Dad wanted me gone? Fine. Let's see how he runs his empire without me. I knew it wouldn't be long before he realized how much he needed me, and I wasn't going to make it easy for him. The next few days felt like a standoff in some old Western movie. Me on one side, Dad on the other, both waiting for the other to blink. I'd moved on from the Walmart lot, found a cheap motel a couple towns over to crash for a bit. My phone was still lighting up, Dad's calls, Mom's texts, even Nate chiming in with his half-hearted attempts to play peacemaker. I mostly ignored them, only checking to see how far they'd go. Dad was losing it, I could tell. The store's website was still down, stuck in maintenance mode, with no way for him to get in. I'd locked him out of everything, admin access, payment systems, even the email account he used for customer complaints. I didn't delete a thing, just made sure he couldn't touch it without me. Customers were emailing, asking why their orders were stalled, and I'd reply with a polite, we're working on it, stay tuned. I wasn't out to ruin anyone, just done carrying the load for a guy who called me a leech. Mom called one morning, her voice shaky. I could hear Dad in the background, yelling about how I'd sabotaged his business. She said, Mike, your dad's in a bad way. Can't you just help him fix the website? He doesn't know what to do. I said, he told me to get out, Mom. I'm respecting his wishes. She went quiet, then whispered, you know he doesn't mean half the things he says. I said, maybe he should start meaning what he says, then. I hung up before she could guilt me more. Nate texted later, saying, Dad's making Mom's life hell because of you. Just give him the password and be done with it. I replied, he made his choice. Deal with it. Nate sent back an eye roll emoji and went silent. I saw him post online about family nonsense, like it's all just a big joke to him. I kept tabs on the store's inbox, watching the customer emails pile up. People were getting mad, saying they'd take their business elsewhere if the site didn't come back soon. I forwarded a few of the angrier ones to Dad's personal email, just to let him feel the heat. He replied with a single line, you're killing my business. Fix this now. I didn't respond. I thought about how he'd always acted like the store was his kingdom, like he built it from nothing. Truth is, I'm the one who got it online, set up the payment portal, made it so he could sell hammers and drills across the state. He'd take credit at barbecues, telling folks he's a modern businessman, while I was the one troubleshooting at 2 in the morning when the site crashed. He never said thanks, just acted like it was my job. One night, I was eating a burger at the motel diner when my phone buzzed with a call from an unknown number. I picked up, and it was Dad, using a friend's phone. He didn't waste time. You're tearing this family apart, Mike. Give me the damn password and stop this nonsense. I said, you told me to stay gone. I'm gone. He started shouting, saying I was ungrateful, that he'd given me everything. I hung up and blocked the number. A few minutes later, Mom texted, your dad's trying so hard. Please, just help him this once. I stared at it, then put my phone face down. I wasn't falling for the same old routine. Dad blows up, Mom plays cleanup, and I'm supposed to swoop in and save the day. I started thinking about what I was doing with my life. I'd been so caught up fixing their messes, Dad's store, Mom's email, Nate's phone, that I hadn't focused on myself. I had a decent job in tech, but I'd been coasting, too busy bailing them out to chase anything bigger. Sitting there, I pulled up my laptop and started poking around job boards, just to see what was out there. It felt good, like I was finally moving forward instead of being stuck in their drama. I didn't feel guilty about the store, either. Dad wanted to play tough guy, tell me I'm nothing? Fine. Let him run his business without me. I knew he'd try something desperate soon, maybe show up at my place, maybe try to guilt me through Mom again. But I was ready. I wasn't his errand boy anymore, and I wasn't going back to that house to eat crow. Let him figure out how to log into his own website for once. Things got quiet for a bit after that last call from Dad, like the calm before a storm you know is coming. I stayed at the motel, working remotely and keeping my head down. My phone still buzzed with texts from Mom. Little, please can you just talk to your dad? He's struggling. Nate sent one message, saying, you're making this harder than it needs to be. Just fix the site. I didn't reply to either. I was done being the guy who swoops in to save the day for a family that didn't even blink when Dad told me to get lost. I kept checking the store's email, though, watching the customer complaints stack up. People were demanding refunds, saying they'd never shop there again. I'd forward the worst ones to Dad, not to rub it in, just to make him see what happens when he pushes people away. He didn't respond, but I knew he was reading them. One afternoon, I was at a coffee shop, scrolling through job listings, when I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. I almost ignored it, but something told me to pick up. It was one of Dad's old customers, a guy named Bill who'd been buying tools from the store for years. He said, Mike, your dad's telling everyone you tanked his business. What's going on? I told him the truth. I built that website, ran it for years. Dad told me to leave, so I did. I'm not involved anymore. Bill was quiet for a second, then said, that's a damn shame. Tom's a good guy, but he's stubborn as hell. You take care, kid. It felt weirdly good to hear someone get it, even if it was just a random customer. I started focusing on my own life more. I applied for a couple tech jobs, better ones than what I had, with real career paths. I even joined a local hiking group to get out of my head. It was nice, being around people who didn't know my family drama, who just wanted to climb a hill and crack a beer at the top. But the family stuff wasn't done with me yet. One night, I got back to the motel and saw Dad's truck in the parking lot. My stomach dropped. I walked up to my room, and there he was, pacing outside my door. He looked rough, red-eyed, unshaven, like he hadn't slept in days. When he saw me, he started in. Mike, you gotta fix the store. You're killing us. Just give me the password, and we're done. I stood my ground. You told me I'm a leech, Dad. You said get out. I'm out. He tried to push past me, reaching for my phone like a desperate kid. I stepped in front of him, firm. You need to leave. He yelled, you're throwing away your family. Then he slammed his fist on the wall and stormed off, tires screeching as he peeled out. Mom called the next day, crying. Your dad's falling apart, Mike. He can't run the store without you. Can't you help, just this once? I said, he made this mess, Mom. I'm not cleaning it up anymore. She hung up, and I felt a pang of guilt, but it passed. I wasn't the bad guy here. Dad had spent years acting like I was nothing, and now he was facing the consequences. I kept the website locked down, but I didn't destroy anything. The money was still there. The orders were just paused. If he wanted to fix it, he could learn how or hire someone. I wasn't his free tech support anymore. I knew he'd keep pushing, but I was ready to hold the line. For the first time, I felt like I was standing up for myself, not just taking the hits. Weeks turned into months, and the noise from my family started to fade. Dad stopped calling, Mom's text slowed to a trickle, and Nate went back to his usual routine of posting dumb memes and ignoring me. I'd moved out of the motel, rented a small apartment closer to my job, and was settling into a new rhythm. I landed one of those tech jobs I'd applied for, a step up, better pay, and a team that didn't treat me like a grunt. I was hiking more, making friends, even started tinkering with a side project, building an app for fun. It felt good to focus on me for once, not Dad's store or Mom's Wi-Fi. But I still kept an eye on the website, just to make sure it didn't get hacked or anything. It was still in limbo. No new orders, just a ghost of what it used to be. I saw Dad had tried to start a new site, but it was a mess, broken links, no payment system, like something a kid threw together. Customers weren't biting. One day, I got a call from Mom. Her voice was different, softer. Mike, can we talk? Not about the store, just us. I hesitated but agreed. We met at a diner halfway between my place and theirs. She looked tired, older than I remembered. She didn't bring up Dad at first, just asked about my job, my life. I told her about the new gig, the hiking, how I was doing okay. Then she got to it. Your dad's in a bad place. The store's barely hanging on. He tried to fix it himself, but he can't. He won't say it, but he knows he needs you. I said, he told me I'm nothing, Mom. Why should I help him now? She nodded, like she got it. He's proud, Mike. Too proud. But he's hurting, and so am I. I'm not asking you to fix everything. Just maybe talk to him. I didn't promise anything, but I said I'd think about it. A couple weeks later, I got an email from Dad. No subject, just a short message. I messed up. Can we talk? I stared at it for a long time. It wasn't an apology, not really, but it was the closest I'd ever seen him come. I didn't reply right away. I thought about that night at dinner, sleeping in my truck, all the years of being his punching bag. But I also thought about Mom, about how she was stuck in the middle. I wasn't ready to let Dad off the hook, but maybe I could meet him halfway, not for him, but for me, to close the door on this without regrets. I emailed back. Meet me at the diner on Route 12, Saturday at noon. No yelling, no demands. Just talk. He agreed. When Saturday came, I was nervous pulling into the diner lot. Dad was already there, sitting in a booth, looking smaller than I remembered. He didn't start with a lecture, just said, I was wrong, Mike. I shouldn't have said those things. It wasn't perfect, but it was something. We talked for a while, not about the store, but about us. He admitted he'd leaned on me too hard, didn't know how to handle me not wanting his life. I told him I wasn't coming back to run his website. but I'd help him get it running again, on one condition. He hires a real tech person and learns the basics himself. He nodded, said he'd try. It wasn't a fairy tale ending, but it was a start. I walked away feeling lighter, like I'd taken back a piece of myself without losing who I was. It's been a year since that diner meeting with Dad, and things are different now. Not perfect, but better. I helped him get the store's website back online, but I stuck to my terms. I walked him through hiring a tech guy, a young kid fresh out of college who's way better at this stuff than I ever was. Dad's learning, slowly, how to check the dashboard, send an email without calling me in a panic. He's still stubborn, still grumbles when things don't go his way, but he hasn't pulled the "you're a leech" card again. I think he knows I'd walk away for good if he did. Mom's happier, too. She's not stuck playing referee anymore. She even started a little gardening blog, and I helped her set it up, no strings attached. Nate's still Nate, always on his phone, but he's been showing up more, even apologized for being a jerk that night at dinner. It was half-hearted, but I'll take it. The store's not what it used to be. Dad lost some customers during the downtime, and the new site's still catching up. But he's managing, and I'm not carrying the weight of it anymore. I'm proud of that. My own life's taken off in ways I didn't expect. The tech job turned into a promotion, and I'm leading a small team now, building software that actually matters. I'm still hiking, got a tight group of friends, and that app one was tinkering with? It's live now, nothing huge, but it's mine, and it feels good to create something for myself. I don't check the family's accounts anymore, don't need to. They're on their own, and so am I, in a good way. Looking back, that night at dinner, sleeping in my truck, it changed me. I used to think I had to prove myself to Dad, to show him I wasn't a failure just because I didn't want his life. But standing up to him, walking away, it showed me I don't need his approval to know my worth. He's not the villain in this story, just a guy who didn't know how to let go of his own expectations. We talk now, not every day, but enough. It's not about the store or who's right. It's about being a family, flaws and all. I don't regret locking him out of the website, not one bit. It was the push we all needed to stop pretending and start dealing with each other for real. Sometimes I drive by that Walmart lot where I slept that night, and I smile. It was rock bottom, sure, but it was also where I decided I was done being the family doormat. Dad's learning to stand on his own, Mom's finding her own way, and Nate's, well, he's trying. Me? I'm building a life I'm proud of, one step at a time. And if Dad ever forgets how much I brought to the table, I've got the password to remind him, just in case.